You're spending money on expensive hair products, oils, serums, maybe even supplements, but your hair is still thinning, weak, or breaking easily. What if the real problem isn't on your scalp at all? What if it's a hidden nutrient deficiency that almost nobody is talking about, something incredibly cheap but absolutely essential for keeping your hair structurally strong? I'm talking about choline. Now, most people have never even heard of choline when it comes to hair health. You hear about biotin, collagen, maybe zinc, but choline? Almost never. And that's exactly why it becomes a silent problem. Choline plays a critical role in something called phospholipids. These are the building blocks of your cell membranes. Every single hair follicle on your scalp depends on strong, stable cell membranes to grow properly. If those structures weaken, your hair doesn't just stop growing efficiently, it starts becoming fragile, thin, and prone to breakage. Think of it like this: your hair shaft, not just dead protein. It's formed and supported by living cells deep in the follicle. Those cells need structural integrity. Without enough choline, the membrane becomes unstable, and that directly affects the quality of hair being produced. But that's just one layer. Choline is also deeply involved in liver function, and this is where things get really interesting. Your liver helps regulate hormones, detoxify excess estrogen, and process fats. If your liver is sluggish, you can end up with hormonal imbalances that directly affect hair growth cycles. Low choline intake is strongly linked to fatty liver. And when the liver starts accumulating fat, it doesn't function properly. That can lead to higher estrogen levels, increased inflammation, and poor nutrient delivery to hair follicles. So now you've got a double problem: weak structural support for hair plus hormonal imbalance. That combination is a perfect recipe for thinning hair. And here's the part most people don't realize: choline deficiency is extremely common. Why? Because the richest sources of choline are foods that many people have reduced or eliminated. Egg yolks are one of the best sources. Liver is another. Red meat, to some extent. But if you're avoiding these foods, or eating a low-fat diet, or relying heavily on processed foods, your choline intake can drop very quickly. Even people who think they're eating healthy can be deficient. Another important function of choline is its role in producing acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter. This chemical is involved in nerve signaling, including signals that influence blood flow and nutrient delivery to the scalp. If those signals are weak, circulation can be affected, and your follicles may not get what they need to thrive. So now we're stacking problems: poor structure, poor liver function, and weaker signaling to the scalp. And it doesn't stop there. Choline is also involved in methylation. This is a biochemical process that affects gene detoxification and repair mechanisms in the body. If methylation is impaired, your body struggles to repair damaged tissues, including the cells responsible for growing hair. That means slower recovery, weaker strands, and a higher likelihood of hair shedding. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in real life. If you're dealing with hair that feels thin, lacks density, breaks easily, or just doesn't seem to grow past a certain length, and you've already tried the usual solutions, this could be a missing piece, especially if you also have signs like fatigue, brain fog, or difficulty concentrating, because those can also point toward low choline levels. So what can you do about it? The simplest and most cost-effective solution is food. Egg yolks are probably the easiest place to start. Not egg whites. The yolk is where the choline is. One egg yolk contains a significant amount, and adding a few eggs per day can make a noticeable difference over time. But not everyone likes it. If you can tolerate it even once or twice a week, it can dramatically boost your choline intake. If food isn't enough or not practical, there are supplements like choline bitartrate or phosphatidylcholine. These are relatively inexpensive compared to many hair supplements on the market, yet they address a root cause rather than just masking symptoms. But here's something important: more is not always better. You don't need extremely high doses. You just need to correct the deficiency and support your body consistently, and results won't happen overnight. Hair growth cycles take time, but what you may notice first is improved texture, less breakage, and stronger strands. Over time, that can translate into thicker, healthier looking hair. So instead of chasing expensive treatments, it might be worth asking a simple question. Are you giving your body the basic building blocks it needs to create strong hair in the first place? Because sometimes the most overlooked nutrient is the one making the biggest difference. Choline plays a foundational role in building strong, resilient hair because it directly supports the formation of phospholipids, which are critical components of cell membranes. Every hair on your head begins its life deep within a follicle where cells are actively dividing, growing, and organizing into the structure that eventually becomes the hair shaft. These cells rely heavily on the integrity of their membranes to function properly, and without sufficient choline, that structural integrity begins to weaken in subtle but significant ways. When you look at a strand of hair, it might seem like a simple protein filament, but the process that creates it is highly complex and dependent on healthy, well-functioning cells. These cells must maintain a stable internal environment, regulate nutrient exchange, and coordinate growth signals. The membrane surrounding each cell acts as both a protective barrier and a interface, and phospholipids are the main building blocks of that membrane. Choline is required to produce one of the most important phospholipids, phosphatidylcholine, which gives the membrane flexibility, strength, and proper function. If choline intake is inadequate, the body struggles to produce enough phosphatidylcholine. This leads to weaker cell membranes that are more prone to damage and less efficient at controlling what enters and exits the cell. In the context of hair follicles, this means the cells responsible for generating the hair shaft may not receive nutrients efficiently, may lose essential compounds, and may not respond properly to growth signals. Over time, this can translate into hair that is thinner, weaker, and more prone to breakage. The structural weakness begins at a microscopic level long before it becomes visible. The cells in the hair matrix, which is the active growth zone at the base of the follicle, are among the fastest dividing cells in the body. Rapid cell division requires a constant supply of raw materials, including lipids for new membranes. Choline becomes even more important in this high-demand environment because every new cell needs a fully functional membrane to survive and perform its role. Without enough choline, the quality of these new cells declines, and that decline is reflected in the hair they produce. Another important aspect is how membrane integrity influences hydration and elasticity. Healthy cell membranes help maintain proper water balance within the cells. When membranes are compromised due to insufficient phospholipids, cells may lose water more easily, leading to dryness and brittleness. This dryness doesn't just affect the scalp, it directly impacts the developing hair shaft, making it less flexible and more likely to snap under stress. This is why hair can feel rough, dry, or fragile, even when external conditioners and oils are used, because the issue originates from within the follicle itself. Addition to structural strength, phospholipids also play a role in anchoring proteins within the membrane. These proteins are involved in transporting nutrients, sending signals, and maintaining overall cellular function. If the membrane lacks proper phospholipid composition, these proteins may not function optimally. For hair follicles, this can mean reduced efficiency in absorbing amino acids, vitamins, and minerals that are essential for keratin production. Keratin is the primary protein that makes up hair, and any disruption in its synthesis can compromise the thickness and durability of each strand. The impact of choline deficiency is not always immediate or dramatic, which is why it often goes unnoticed. Instead, it manifests gradually. Hair may start to lose its density, strands may become finer over time, and breakage may increase. People often attribute these changes to aging, stress, or external damage, without considering the possibility that the underlying issue could be a leak in a basic nutrient required for cellular structure. Another layer to consider is how choline supports the formation of lipid barriers within the scalp environment. The scalp is not just a passive surface, it is an active biological environment where follicles interact with surrounding tissues, sebaceous glands, and microcirculation. Phospholipids contribute to maintaining the integrity of this environment, helping to protect follicles from oxidative stress and inflammation. When choline levels are low, this protective barrier may weaken, making follicles more vulnerable to damage from environmental factors and internal stressors. The resilience of hair also depends on how well the follicle can maintain consistent growth cycles. Each hair follicle goes through phases of growth, rest, and shedding. The transition between these phases is influenced by cellular health and signaling pathways, many of which depend on membrane integrity. If the cells are compromised, the timing and efficiency of these cycles can be disrupted. This may lead to shorter growth phases and longer shedding phases, contributing to overall thinning. Choline's role in lipid metabolism further ties into structural integrity. Without adequate choline, lipid transport and utilization can become inefficient, leading to imbalances that affect cell structure. This is particularly important in tissues with high turnover rates like hair follicles, where continuous rebuilding is necessary. It's also important to understand that the body does produce small amounts of choline on its own, but this endogenous production is usually not sufficient to meet all physiological needs, especially under conditions of stress, rapid growth, or dietary Arabic noon, Arabic cough, Arabic sada. This makes dietary intake crucial for maintaining levels. When intake falls short, the body prioritizes vital organs and functions, and less critical structures like hair may not receive adequate support. This prioritization can explain why hair issues can be an early visible sign of underlying nutrient imbalances. The connection between choline and structural hair integrity becomes even clearer when considering how deficiencies affect other tissues. For example, muscle cells, liver cells, and brain cells also rely on phospholipids for their membranes. When choline is lacking, these tissues show signs of weakness in structure and function. Hair follicles, being highly active and sensitive, reflect similar vulnerabilities, but in a way that is visible and often distressing. Over time, consistent Arabic noon, Arabic cough, Arabic sada in choline can lead to cumulative damage. Each growth cycle produces hair that is slightly weaker than the last, and without correction, this trend continues. The result is a noticeable decline in overall hair quality, including reduced thickness, increased fragility, and diminished shine. Addressing the root cause by ensuring adequate choline intake can help restore the structural foundation at the cellular level, allowing new hair to grow with improved strength and resilience. The key point is that hair strength is not just about protein intake or external care. It begins with the integrity of the cells that produce the hair, and those cells depend on choline to build and maintain their membranes. When that foundation is solid, the hair that emerges is naturally stronger, more flexible, and more resistant to damage. Choline plays a significant role in supporting liver function and maintaining hormone balance, both of which are closely tied to hair health in ways that are often overlooked. The liver is one of the most metabolically active organs in the body, responsible for processing nutrients, filtering toxins, and regulating hormones. When choline intake is adequate, the liver can efficiently carry out these processes, but when levels are low, a chain reaction begins that can quietly contribute to hair thinning and loss over time. One of the primary roles of choline in the liver is its involvement in fat metabolism. Choline is required to produce phosphatidylcholine, which helps transport fats out of the liver. Without enough choline, fats begin to accumulate within liver cells, leading to a condition known as fatty liver. This buildup interferes with normal liver function, reducing its ability to process hormones effectively. When the liver becomes sluggish, it cannot properly break down excess hormones, particularly estrogen, which starts to circulate at higher levels in the body. Elevated estrogen levels can disrupt the natural balance between estrogen and androgens, which are hormones that play a direct role in hair growth. While both types of hormones are necessary, the balance between them is what determines how hair follicles behave. Clearance, it can push more hair follicles into the resting phase of the growth cycle. This results in increased shedding and reduced regrowth, creating a noticeable decrease in hair density over time. At the same time, poor liver function can contribute to increased levels of dihydrotestosterone or DHT in certain individuals. DHT is a derivative of testosterone testosterone that is known to shrink hair follicles, especially in those who are genetically sensitive. The liver plays a role in regulating and clearing excess hormones, so when its function is compromised, the hormonal environment becomes less stable. This instability can accelerate follicle miniaturization, leading to thinner and weaker hair strands. Choline also supports the liver's detoxification pathways, which are essential for removing harmful substances from the body. The liver uses a series of biochemical reactions to neutralize toxins, including environmental chemicals, metabolic waste, and excess hormones. These processes depend on adequate levels of nutrients, including choline, to function efficiently. When choline is lacking, detoxification slows down, allowing toxins to accumulate. This buildup can create oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which negatively affect hair follicles. Inflammation is particularly damaging to hair growth because it disrupts the delicate environment of the scalp and follicle. Chronic low-grade inflammation can impair blood flow, reduce nutrient delivery, and interfere with the signaling pathways that regulate hair growth cycles. Over time, this can lead to follicles becoming less active or even dormant. By supporting liver detoxification, choline helps reduce the overall toxic burden on the body, which in turn supports a healthier environment for hair growth. Another important aspect of choline's role in hormone balance is its involvement in methylation. Methylation is a biochemical process that affects how genes are expressed and how hormones are processed. It plays a key role in converting hormones into forms that can be easily eliminated from the body. Choline acts as a methyl donor, meaning it provides the chemical groups needed for these reactions to occur. Without sufficient choline, methylation becomes less efficient, leading to a buildup of hormones that should otherwise be cleared. This imbalance can have a direct impact on hair follicles. Hormones act as signals that tell follicles when to grow, rest, or shed. If these signals are distorted due to poor hormone regulation, the hair growth cycle becomes irregular. Some follicles may enter the shedding phase too early, while others may remain in a dormant state for longer than normal. This disruption can create a pattern of diffuse thinning that is difficult to trace back to a single cause. The liver also plays a role in nutrient storage and distribution, which indirectly affects hair health. Many vitamins and minerals that are essential for hair growth, such as vitamin A, vitamin D, and certain B vitamins, are processed or stored in the liver. If liver function is compromised due to low choline, the availability of these nutrients to hair follicles may decrease. Even if dietary intake is sufficient, the body may not be able to utilize these nutrients effectively, leading to suboptimal hair growth. Blood sugar regulation is another factor influenced by liver health and choline status. The liver helps maintain stable blood glucose levels by storing and releasing glycogen as needed. When this function is impaired, blood sugar fluctuations can occur more frequently. These fluctuations can increase stress hormones like cortisol, which have a known negative impact on hair growth. Elevated cortisol levels can push hair follicles into the resting phase and prolong shedding, contributing to thinning over time. Choline's impact on bile production is also relevant. Bile is produced by the liver and is necessary for digesting fats and absorbing fat-soluble vitamins. Adequate bile flow, the absorption of these vitamins is reduced. Vitamins such as A, D, E, and K play important roles in maintaining healthy hair follicles and scalp conditions. If these nutrients are not properly absorbed, hair may become dry, congealed, and more prone to damage. By supporting bile production, choline helps ensure that these essential nutrients are available to the body. Another layer to consider is how choline deficiency can lead to a buildup of homocysteine, an amino acid that, when elevated, is associated with inflammation and vascular issue. High homocysteine levels can impair blood flow, including circulation to the scalp. Reduced blood flow means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach the hair follicles, which can weaken their function. Contribute to slower growth and increased shedding. The connection between liver health, hormone balance, and hair integrity becomes more apparent when these processes are viewed together. A deficiency in choline sets off a cascade that begins with impaired fat metabolism and progresses to hormonal imbalance, toxin accumulation, inflammation, and reduced nutrient availability. Each of these factors alone can affect hair, but together they create an environment where healthy hair growth becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. In everyday life, these these effects may appear gradually. Hair may start to feel thinner, shedding may increase during washing or brushing, and the scalp may become more sensitive or prone to irritation. These signs are often addressed with topical treatments or cosmetic solutions, but the underlying issue may remain unresolved if liver function and nutrient status are not considered. Restoring adequate choline intake helps reverse many of these processes by supporting the liver's ability to process fats, regulate hormones, and detoxify the body efficiently. Hair follicles becomes more consistent. This creates a more stable internal environment where hair can grow with greater strength and resilience, and where the natural growth cycle can proceed without unnecessary disruption. Choline plays a crucial role in nerve signaling and methylation, two processes that have a direct and often underestimated impact on hair growth and scalp health. These systems operate behind the scenes, yet they influence how effectively nutrients are delivered to hair follicles, how growth signals are transmitted, and how well the body maintains the cycles that regulate hair production. When choline levels are insufficient, these processes begin to lose efficiency, and the effects can gradually show up as weaker, slower growing, or thinning hair. One of the key functions of choline is its role as a precursor to acetylcholine, an essential neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that allow nerves to communicate with muscles, glands, and tissues. Acetylcholine is particularly important because it is involved in activating many of the signals that regulate blood flow and cellular activity. In the context of the scalp, proper nerve signaling helps control microcirculation, which is the flow of blood through the tiny vessels that supply hair follicles. Hair follicles are highly active structures that require a constant supply of oxygen, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. These nutrients are delivered through the bloodstream, and their distribution depends on the dilation and contraction of small blood vessels. Acetylcholine helps regulate this process by signaling the smooth muscles around blood vessels to relax, allowing more blood to flow through. When choline levels are low, acetylcholine production may decrease, leading to weaker signaling and less efficient circulation. Reduced circulation does not always produce immediate or obvious symptoms, but over time it can limit the amount of nutrients reaching the follicles. This can slow down the rate of cell division in the hair matrix, which is the area where new hair cells are formed. As a result, hair may grow more slowly, and the strands that are produced may be thinner and less robust. The follicles may also become more sensitive to stress and environmental factors, further affecting their ability to maintain consistent growth. In addition to influencing blood flow, acetylcholine plays a role in the communication between nerve endings and hair follicle cells. Hair follicles are not isolated structures. They are integrated into a network of nerves and signaling pathways that help coordinate their activity. These signals help determine when a follicle should enter the growth phase, how long it should remain active, and when it should transition into the resting or shedding phase. If nerve signaling is impaired, these transitions can become irregular, leading to disruptions in the normal hair growth cycle. Importance comes from its involvement in methylation. Methylation is a fundamental biochemical process that occurs in every cell of the body. It involves the transfer of small chemical groups called methyl groups, which are used to regulate gene expression, repair DNA, and process various molecules, including hormones and neurotransmitters. Choline contributes to this process by acting as a source of methyl groups, supporting the body's ability to carry out these essential reactions. In the context of hair growth, methylation affects how genes related to follicle function are expressed. Genes control the production of proteins, enzymes, and signaling molecules that determine how hair follicles behave. If methylation is impaired due to low choline, these genetic instructions may not be executed properly. This can lead to reduced production of key proteins involved in hair structure, as well as altered responses to growth signals. DNA repair is another critical aspect influenced by methylation. The cells in hair follicles divide rapidly, and with each division, there is a risk of DNA damage. Efficient repair mechanisms are necessary to maintain the integrity of of these cells and ensure that they continue to function correctly. Choline-supported methylation helps facilitate these repair processes, allowing cells to recover from damage and continue producing healthy hair. Without adequate support, damage can accumulate, leading to weaker cells and diminished hair quality. Methylation also plays a role in regulating homocysteine levels, an amino acid that, when elevated, can have negative effects on vascular health. High homocysteine levels are associated with reduced blood flow and increased oxidative stress. In the scalp, this can translate to poorer circulation and a less favorable environment for hair growth. By contributing to the conversion of homocysteine into other beneficial compounds, choline helps maintain healthier blood vessels and supports nutrient delivery to the follicles. The connection between methylation and inflammation is also important. Proper methylation helps regulate the production of inflammatory molecules, keeping inflammation at manageable levels. When methylation is compromised, inflammation can increase, affecting various tissues including the scalp. Chronic inflammation around hair follicles can disrupt their function, shorten the growth phase, and increase the likelihood of premature shedding. This can create a cycle where hair becomes progressively thinner over time. Choline's role in supporting neurotransmitter balance extends beyond acetylcholine. It indirectly influences the production and regulation of other neurotransmitters by supporting overall brain and nervous system health. Stress, for example, can significantly impact hair growth by altering hormone levels and increasing inflammation. Impact on hair follicles. When choline levels are adequate, the nervous system is better equipped to maintain balance, which can indirectly support healthier hair growth patterns. The interplay between nerve signaling and methylation creates a coordinated system that ensures hair follicles receive the right signals at the right time while maintaining the cellular integrity needed for growth. If either system is compromised, the effects can compound. Weak nerve signaling may reduce nutrient delivery, while impaired methylation may limit the ability of follicle cells to use those nutrients effectively. Together, these issues can slow down growth, weaken hair structure, and disrupt the natural cycle of renewal. In practical terms, the effects of insufficient choline in these areas may appear as subtle but persistent changes. Hair may lose its thickness, growth may seem stalled, and shedding may become more noticeable. The scalp may also feel less healthy, with reduced vitality resilience. These changes often develop gradually, making it difficult to identify the underlying cause without considering the role of nutrients like choline. By ensuring adequate choline intake, the body can maintain efficient acetylcholine production, supporting proper nerve signaling and circulation. At the same time, methylation processes can function optimally, promoting balanced gene expression, effective DNA repair, and controlled inflammation. This creates an internal environment where hair follicles are better supported, both in terms of receiving nutrients and in their ability to use those nutrients to produce strong, healthy strands. The overall effect is a more stable and efficient system that supports consistent hair growth cycles, stronger hair structure, and improved resilience against stressors that might otherwise disrupt follicle